Look around you. The screen you're watching, the room you're in, your own hands. Everything feels solid, real, physical. But what if none of it is fundamental? What if the universe you experience is not the base reality, but a rendered layer, like a level in a video game? Some of the world's most serious philosophers and physicists argue that the chances we are living in a computer simulation are not small. They might even be overwhelming. If advanced civilizations can simulate conscious beings, and they have any interest in doing so, then almost all minds like yours are not in the original universe, but inside a simulation, which means you might be an NPC who thinks you're a player. The idea that reality might be an illusion is not new. Philosophers have been worrying about it for thousands of years. Plato imagined prisoners in a cave, chained so they could only see shadows on a wall, mistaking those shadows for reality. Descartes wondered if a powerful demon was feeding him a fake world. Today, the demon has been replaced by something more familiar, a computer. The question is the same. If your experiences can be generated artificially, how would you ever know? The simulation hypothesis in its modern form is most closely associated with philosopher Nick Bostrom. In 2003, he published a paper that went viral in academic and tech circles. He didn't claim we are definitely in a simulation. Instead, he offered a trilemma, a set of 3 possibilities. At least one of them, he argued, must be true. The 3 possibilities are these. First, almost no civilizations at our level of development ever reach technological maturity. They destroy themselves before they can build planet-scale simulations. Second, some civilizations do reach that level, but almost none of them choose to run simulations of beings like us. They either aren't interested, or they have strong ethical rules against it. Third, if civilizations do both survive and choose to run simulations, then the number of simulated minds will vastly outnumber the number of biological minds in the original universe. In that case, the probability that you are one of the few base reality minds instead of one of the many simulated minds is extremely low. Bostrom's argument is not based on quantum weirdness or glitches. It's simple statistics. If simulations are cheap for advanced civilizations, they can run many. They might simulate their own history, alternate histories, or entire fictional universes. Each simulation could contain billions of conscious beings. If even a tiny fraction of advanced civilizations do this, the number of simulated beings in the multiverse quickly dwarfs the number of original biological beings. Under those conditions, it's rational to bet that you are simulated. Of course, you might object. Maybe no civilization ever reaches that level. Maybe they all self-destruct. That is option 1. But that's a grim conclusion. It implies that technological civilizations almost always fail, through war, environmental collapse, AI takeover, or something we haven't imagined yet. Believing we are in base reality might mean believing in near-universal doom. Option 2 is more optimistic. Civilizations survive, but choose not to simulate. Maybe they consider it cruel to create beings who can suffer. Or maybe advanced minds find simulation boring, like a child who outgrows playing with dolls. But if you think at least some civilizations will both survive and run simulations, you slide into option 3. We are probably in one. The simulation hypothesis becomes more intuitive when you look at the trajectory of our own technology. Just a few decades ago, video games were pixelated dots on a screen. Today, we have photorealistic 3D worlds rendered in real time, with advanced physics engines, global multiplayer, and AI-driven characters. Virtual reality headsets can trick your senses into feeling present in a digital space. Neural interfaces are emerging that directly stimulate the brain. Our simulations are crude, but they're improving fast. Project forward 1,000 years, or 10,000. If we avoid self-destruction, our computing power will be staggering. We will understand the brain in exquisite detail. We will know how to emulate consciousness in software. At that point, creating a simulated world that feels as real as this one will be trivial. You could run entire civilizations as experiments, entertainment, or historical reconstructions. You could pause, rewind, and branch timelines. Inside those simulations, conscious beings would live full lives, never suspecting their universe is digital, unless they start thinking about it, like you are now. Some physicists and engineers in the tech world find this persuasive. People like Elon Musk have said publicly that the probability we are not in a simulation is 1 in billions. Others are far more skeptical. They argue that our assumptions about future civilizations are speculative. We don't know if consciousness can be uploaded or emulated. We don't know if computation can scale arbitrarily. We don't know if simulated beings would count as real. But that's part of the philosophical tension. The hypothesis is not easy to test experimentally, yet it feels coherent. Are there any clues in physics that point towards simulation? Some enthusiasts point to the discreteness of reality. In quantum mechanics, energy comes in quanta, discrete packets. Space itself may be quantized at the Planck scale. That sounds like pixels. The maximum information content of a region of space is finite, proportional not to its volume, but its surface area, according to the holographic principle. That sounds like a storage limit. The speed of light acts like a cosmic speed limit. No information can travel faster. That sounds like a bandwidth constraint. These analogies are tempting. Reality feels digital in some ways. However, serious physicists caution against reading too much into this. The fact that a theory uses math that looks discrete or bounded doesn't mean the universe is literally running on a computer in another universe. Any consistent physical system can be modeled computationally. That doesn't imply the system is itself just code. A simulation of a hurricane doesn't make the hurricane itself a simulation. The map is not the territory. Others look for glitches in the matrix, strange anomalies, coincidences, or patterns in physical constants that might betray artificial design. If we lived in a simulation with limited resources, maybe distant galaxies would be rendered in lower resolution, like background textures in games. Maybe certain computations would be approximated, leaving subtle artifacts. People have proposed searching for lattice-like patterns in cosmic rays or numerical shortcuts in fundamental constants. So far, nothing conclusive has appeared. If we are in a simulation, the programmers didn't leave obvious bugs lying around. Then there's the question of free will. If you are software running on someone else's hardware, are you free? Your thoughts and choices would be the result of underlying code and physics in the parent reality. But that's not much different from what most physicalists already believe, that your brain activity obeys the laws of physics in this universe. If those laws are deterministic or probabilistic, your freedom is already constrained. Adding a simulation layer doesn't change the philosophical problem. It just pushes it up one level. Meaning and value also come under pressure in a simulated world. If everything you experience is computed, does it still matter? If your relationships, achievements, and struggles happen inside a program, are they less real? Many people feel an instinctive yes. But examine that instinct. Your emotions, pains, and joys are real to you. If those experiences are implemented with neurons made of carbon or with bits in silicon, doesn't obviously change their subjective reality. If you feel love, does it matter what substrate produces that feeling? If you suffer, does it hurt less because the suffering is encoded in code? From the inside, reality is what you experience, not what it's made of. On the other hand, the simulation hypothesis can be terrifying. If our universe is a program, someone, somewhere, is running it. They might be able to pause, reset, or delete it. They might be able to intervene, introducing miracles or disasters by tweaking the code. That starts to sound like a technological version of God. Not an all-powerful, metaphysical God, but a finite, very advanced programmer. If such beings exist, are they benevolent, indifferent, cruel? Are we a science project, a video game, a work of art, a punishment? If you take the hypothesis literally, these are not just theological questions, they're engineering questions. Yet, we have no evidence about the motives of hypothetical simulators. We cannot extrapolate human psychology to beings possibly millions of years ahead. They might think in ways we cannot imagine, or they might not exist at all. The hypothesis delights in pushing our intuitions to the breaking point. Is there any way to test it? Some thinkers suggest that if the universe is simulated, it might have computational shortcuts. For example, it might not simulate all quantum details everywhere, all the time. It might only collapse unobserved states when they are measured to save processing power, like a video game only rendering what is in the player's field of view. This resembles some interpretations of quantum mechanics where observation plays a key role. But again, analogy is not proof. Others propose that if the universe has a fundamental discrete lattice structure, extremely high-energy experiments could reveal anisotropies, directions in which physical laws slightly differ, betraying the underlying grid. Our current accelerators are far from reaching such energies, and even if we saw such effects, they might just reflect a particular quantum gravity theory, not a programmer's grid. There is also a deeper objection. Even if we somehow proved that our universe has properties consistent with being simulated, that would not tell us whether those properties come from code in a higher universe or from the bare metal of reality itself. Maybe every universe has those properties, simulated or not. The regression problem appears. If we are in a simulation, what about the universe simulating us? Is it also simulated? You can stack simulations in a tower or a loop. Somewhere, there must be a base reality, but we have no access to it. We are sealed inside our universe, whatever its ontological status. The simulation hypothesis, then, might be unfalsifiable in practice. That makes many scientists dismiss it as metaphysics rather than physics. If a hypothesis makes no testable predictions beyond what our best theories already make, it's not useful scientifically. It can be an interesting philosophical lens, but not a scientific theory. Despite this, the idea has real-world effects. It shapes how people see their lives. Some find it liberating. If this is a simulation, maybe death is not the end. Maybe you are safely stored in a higher reality. Maybe your current life is one of many runs. That sounds like reincarnation with silicon. Others find it demotivating. If everything is simulated, why care? Why try? Why be moral? Yet again, this reveals more about us than about reality. Even in a non-simulated universe, some people argue that if everything is determined by physics, nothing truly matters. Others insist that meaning is created, not discovered, that your choices are meaningful because you experience them as such, regardless of cosmic context. Interestingly, some proponents of the simulation hypothesis have suggested ethical implications for us as simulators in training. If we will eventually be able to simulate conscious beings, we need to think now about whether we should. If simulated suffering is real suffering, then running a universe full of pain would be morally serious. If we are in a simulation created by ethically sophisticated beings, perhaps they minimize suffering or ensure that the overall arc has value. If we are in a careless or malicious simulation, that says something dark about our creators, or about what is allowed in the metaverse. So where does that leave you, sitting there, wondering if your reality is real? On one level, nothing changes. You still have to live your life. You still feel hunger, joy, anxiety, love. You still need to decide how to treat other people. Whether the atoms around you are fundamental or virtual doesn't change your immediate ethical landscape. The pain you cause or alleviate is still felt by someone, somewhere, whether their brain runs on neurons or bits. On another level, the simulation hypothesis can be a useful tool for humility. It reminds us that our current understanding of reality is provisional. We've been wrong about the structure of the cosmos before. We thought Earth was the center, then the sun, then the galaxy, then the observable universe. Each time, we had to accept that our view was parochial. The idea that our entire universe might be just one layer in a deeper stack continues that pattern. It forces us to entertain the possibility that what we call ultimate reality is just one level up in someone else's hierarchy. Perhaps the most constructive way to engage with the simulation hypothesis is not to obsess over whether it's true, but to use it as a mirror. If you knew with certainty that you were in a simulation, what would you change about how you live? Would you be more reckless, treating life as a game? Or more careful, recognizing that even in a game, harm feels real? Would you pursue different goals, knowing that achievements might be erased with a single reset? Or would you double down on curiosity and kindness, seeing them as valuable regardless of cosmic context? If your answers involve being more present, more compassionate, more curious, then the hypothesis has already done something useful, not by revealing the nature of reality, but by revealing something about you. In the end, we may never know whether we are in base reality or not. The walls of our universe might be impenetrable, but the question itself pushes us to think more deeply about consciousness, computation, and what it means for something to be real. Whether we are code or carbon, shadows or source, the fact remains, there is an experience happening, there is awareness, there is a story unfolding, and you are in it.